Now that the first official trailer of the second Five Nights at Freddy movie is out, there's a lot more content, and I mean a lot more content they've teased, so that we, and specifically me, who they've been looking for to predict the storyline. We left off in the last movie with Vanessa in the hospital, hopefully dead, because I don't even know if I like her character. After that, we see William Afton found out to be the murderer of an abandoned case of children gone missing. We see him lying on the floor of a parts and service room, being shut off for the last time and slowly rotting. And of course, Corey getting jump scared by a 1/4-foot tall minifigure of Balloon Boy. In this fever dream of a video, I'm gonna gather up all the evidence I could find just to create an idea of how I think the movie will go. So like a fanfic? No! It's not a fanfic! Yeah, it's a fanfic. I'm a fan, frick your face up. Whoa! Stop with these corny jokes. I ain't with it. I ain't with you either. One of the first 4 scripts shown by Scott during the 10-year anniversary included a family being lured into an area in the pizzeria, which honestly has had me on edge the past year, and it was definitely an opening scene, knowing that it was at the beginning of the script, being one of the first 5 pages out of probably 100, which is the average for around 2-hour-long screenplays. But I believe now it's clear that the scene is altered, and instead it's the opening scene of the first trailer with McKenna Grace, and the security guard who looks a lot like Dave Miller, but the only other person he could be, if not, would be Jeremy Fitzgerald, which makes the most sense to me. In this situation, this guard represents the father from the script Scott teased. We could also say that the scripts he showed weren't true at all, and all red herrings, which wouldn't be too unexpected from someone like him. One other thing I noticed is how the guard makes an obvious reference to Mangle's tragic story of being taken apart by children in the second game. After that, I'll state what's obvious real quick. Light. A girl gets her battery stolen by Balloon Boy in the water. Mangle kills a boy with the camera, kind of foreshadowing the bite of 87. A young Vanessa finds a puppet box. And yes, I said a young Vanessa. You'll hear about it soon, but before that, I have to point out something that blew me away after I found it out. On the stage, which you have a better view of before Chica is revealed during the scene where Vanessa encounters her, the hexagon platform is a trap door, which stores the music box's location under it, who I suspect floats up and directs the animatronics on stage, like it's mentioned in the other games. Also, we see it in the first trailer as Vanessa's looking down on the music box, obviously being proof to how the marionette gets up to the stage. Honestly, I first thought this would be a return to the mall, and the puppet is looking down at her from the windows above. And since being haunted, the puppet was held by wires until being given life by Charlie after William killed her as his first victim, who was his work partner, Henry's daughter, and also a revenge plan from William after his son was taken by one of Henry's creations, Fredbear. Tragic. As for after that scene, I think it'll lead right into this part of the trailer we see, which is kind of hard to pick off of since there's not much explicit content they give to us. But I think it's safe to say that William is not going to be in the second movie, and at least that specific version of himself. Most scenes we'll see of him will be in flashbacks, a portion of them probably being told by Vanessa herself, and of course all this trauma is going to have to go somewhere, because memories of her past in the year before when she was stabbed, these dark memories of her father will attack her in flashbacks. This will lead her to go insane, and as you see, she gets quite physical, even pulling out a gun. This goes on day and night, since in the trailer, she's wearing both of the same clothes, meaning this could trigger her for a whole day, and not just a short period of time. We could also expect remembering a fight from her father that happened in the past, because in some parts, he isn't in the yellow rabbit suit like we saw in the end of the last movie. And someone tell me why this man working at that job again, because why does he need a job with a house looking that good? On the first night, I don't expect anything to happen for Mike, besides the music box being an issue, but on the second, some things I believe might happen is he begins to realize the toy animatronics move, and it'll remind him of the first movie, leading him to want to leave, but he's shielded in basically since he can't let them get out, and potentially terrorize the town. Which is basically foreshadowing, which you'll see, but things won't get too crazy, obviously. It's just the first night. Watch me be wrong. On the third night, he could get help from lost tape he uncovers, which explains to him how he could do his first shift, since there won't be any William Afton to help him study. It'll be almost like a retcon to the third game, where they recover training tapes left over from the last worker, meaning we could finally hear Scott have his own appearance in his own film. And with these tapes, he discovers the withered animatronics in the parts and service room. I'm expecting he's gonna think it's pretty creepy, look around with his flashlight and stuff. You know how it goes. But one thing the phone guy tells us in the second game is how to deal with Withered Foxy. And coincidentally, Mike's gonna have to use what he learned on the Withered as they begin to move more. Obviously having to use flashlight, but in the process coming across Balloon Boy and having to hope that the night will end before Withered Foxy catches him. And that's gonna happen. But the fourth night, you're about to lose your mind! I really don't know yet. I don't know what's gonna happen in this one. As for Mike's fifth night, I don't know either, since they're at the dinner in the trailer during the night, but the night shift is during the night. So freaking confusing. But if it were to, of course we have that one scene where Vanessa speaks to Mike at a diner like I was just talking about, which could feature Markiplier because I could actually imagine him introducing himself in the way he does in his intro. But it's kinda already been done before, like the diner in the last movie of MatPat, which I loved and didn't expect too. Anyway, Abby is lured to the original location after being mad at Mike for lying about his promise, which we hear in the trailer. And in the first teaser of the movie, we see a message on the door of Mike's house. The "Gone to Fix My Friends" letter Mike gets seems to be written by Abby, which is why she ends up biking to the pizzeria, where we see her all grown up for the first time. This is crucial to the story because I feel that this could be a reference to the "I'll fix you" in the fourth game from the Fred plush. The way she mentions fixing, and I'm not really sure what it means though. And specifically noting that this came from what, a 10-year-old? It doesn't seem like she could do much fixing. To all you inside seekers and fan theorists, I'll debunk it for you. This child is not a robot and it will not be fixing Garrett. Although this makes me feel that Abby's character was made to represent the Fredbear plush in the first game that spied on the crying child. As we know, there was a camera on it. Knowing that Abby wrote that letter though, could also say that this is in the same town, as she couldn't have gone that far at her age. But who's telling Abby to go to the location? It can't be William, knowing he's still buried under the first establishment, although it could possibly be Garrett. But why would he risk her life like that? My best theory is that it's the puppet, and done to get Vanessa's attention. But how would it know to get Abby for it to bring Vanessa there? In all honesty, I don't know yet. But from there, Abby realizes the robots aren't the same as the last, and one of them, being Chica, gets out. After Mike sees that Abby is gone, I think she'll just appear right after that, because there's no footage of it yet, of him trying to save her, at least. But of course, Mike will get mad at Abby, and then Vanessa will get mad at him, just like the last film. And if you're wondering why I don't mention them both going out to find her, based on their clothing, the scene where we see Vanessa and Mike, quote-unquote, looking for Abby, which is what people are thinking, doesn't happen until a while after the dinner scene. And I gotta say, Mike really need to hire better babysitters for this young girl. They also need to be paid higher, because half of the time, you die within minutes of being close to her, or protecting her. Anyway, Chica escapes and attacks one of Abby's teachers, which Abby reveals to both Mike and Vanessa, which leads into the next scene. On the sixth night, and most important night, actually during the day because this is in the morning, Mike and Vanessa speak about the night before, after they realize how things are starting to play out, much like the last time this happened. And this might be around the same time you see Abby holding those Fredbear toys based off of Mike's clothing. Take an idea from the trailer, she mentions the history of the building to finish what she was talking about in the first movie, and we'll actually get to see William murder some children. I hate the sound of it, but that's just the way us fans are. All salty since the last movie didn't do it properly. It's PG-13, what do you expect? She'll probably bring it up, knowing that he works at the original location with the puppet, and Charlie specifically, who could be someone she knew back in the day. And after that, Vanessa will mention his first kill. I don't know why I said it like that. But before that, we need to establish something very critical to the story. Henry Emily. If you haven't been in the FNAF community long, Henry Emily has been a widely important character in the franchise, who is basically the cause of any creation that William has made to be true. That could be absolutely any non-human character. The machines. This is because he made that. Henry created the animatronics, and so did William, but in the process and before any big controversy, in the timeline where Goldie Freddy was on stage, he was an opponent to William and took him as competition. After years of going against each other and progressively getting better than the other, also lots of plagiarizing, the two officially partnered up to create the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. So far, in the movie story that's canon to the movie lore, we haven't seen any trace of Henry Emily in the series, besides all of the theories, that of him being Mike's father. I also came up with a theory before writing the script that I deeply regret. It was called The Man Behind the Father, and I never returned to it. I think you could guess why. Essentially, it theorized Mike's father being Henry, and although it could work, it wouldn't make sense. In the theory, Garrett would be Charlie Emily, which has already been debunked by what we hear in the trailer. It's safe to say that he won't be playing Michael's father in the movies. Now, what could he be then? And where will he be now? Before Mike's brother was taken by William Afton, William also killed his partner's daughter, Charlie Emily. First of all, have you ever thought about how things would end up for William if he was caught? I guess we'll never know. But seriously, how did he not get caught? And how did he make the situation tone down, allowing events for the Fazbear's Pizzeria franchise to keep on going like FazFest? There must have been something to calm everything down. And I think that the reason we saw those photos of the purple guy going to that prison was because of how he met Henry Emily after framing of the crimes that purple guy himself committed, being the cause of death of 5 children and one unsolved case of a kidnapped child, Garrett. Overall, the big bad of the series will frame Henry Emily, of course being his own partner in crime and without knowing it, resulting in Henry to go to prison and William getting away scot-free. Y'all see what I did there? Obviously, this will be shown in flashbacks if it ever happens, and I'm quite confident that it will. Let me get back on topic with the 6th night again. After speaking to Vanessa on his porch, he weirdly goes back to work later in the day and uses the Freddy mask, which Vanessa suggested earlier. Of course, after being caught by Withered Chica, which is what everybody is freaking out about with the trailer, but I mean, it's like a whole ton of other things. There's Wither Bonnie, who even got red eyes. Maybe got to be possessed by William for that to happen, but they really just gotta ruin the eyes every single time. After that, Mike goes against the Withers and whatever as we seen. Now after that, we get into the mega juicy stuff. Vanessa, for some reason, is going around the building and looking at things, and as Mike's at the office upstairs, she's downstairs in the puppet's box room, reminding her of her past, and she first encounters it while it watches her from above. This causes her to realize she needs to tell Mike, letting him know he didn't wind up the music box, and that they need to leave. He finds him in trouble with the Wizards, and they try to leave, but as he's crossing the bridge, Mike drops his car keys in the water, making him get inside. And as he's looking for it, Balloon Boy takes his flashlight batteries before he could get out. And once he leaves, he comes across Withered Foxy, hiding as a last resort, since his eyes have slowly deteriorated over the years. But once they're able to get out, Mango gets out and gets on top of the car, but is flung into the pizzeria window, allowing the other animatronics to leave as Vanessa and Mike try to escape. Obviously, we know Mango follows Mike and Vanessa to stop their car, but we don't fully know if it's them in that. As the animatronics roams the streets, Bonnie nearly kills an old couple once entering their house sneakily, and where he uses not the knife, but the knife sharpener, which might hurt even more than the knife. But they obviously end up fine since the movie is rated PG-13. Of course. Meanwhile, Freddy walks around FazFest, and Mike is able to lure him into his house, but he knows that Abby's there. So like always, Vanessa gets mad at him for a stupid reason, even though it's all they could do. In their house, Vanessa gets more flashbacks of her father, and Mike grabs them both as the puppet sneaks behind Vanessa. I also think that the puppet could be trying to protect Vanessa, since it isn't fully evil in its original storyline. But these shots are also making me think that it could be getting revenge on her for not helping, because she may also be one of the boys who kicked her out. Back to the story, Mingle breaks into the house after they back up into the window, which I know for a fact because the blinds are the same, which is something that I was finally able to get right. I haven't even watched the movie yet, I already know it. From there, I actually don't know how it could go without Mike having to burn his house down and parallel the games, which would be absolutely horrible. But I think that much like FNAF 6, Mike will find a way to lure all the animatronics back to the pizzeria and burn it down to free their souls. Also why the next movie will only include Springtrap as a villain, but also play with Mike's mind by having the animatronics ghosts taunt him, probably from the trauma of the previous movie, much like what Vanessa is going through in the second film. It'll be cool if the movie ends with Mike opening a card that comes in the mail, showing he had gotten the pay from his job, referencing the end of the game, which I really wish they did in the first movie, but they could definitely do that now. So what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know what your thesis of this movie will be, and I'll be sure to include it with the follow-up video, maybe on the next trailer, but definitely once the movie releases. I really just want to see how much I got wrong and what I got right. If you didn't skip to the end, in which I don't know why someone would do that, well, thanks for suffering through this fever dream of a video. I don't know how to do an outro well, as you could tell, so bye.